What's up, everybody? Welcome to Weekly Buzz. It's your favorite host, Dee. And this week we have with us Miss Lisa and Miss KB.
And I'm Chris Knight from the Counseling Center. This is week 6 of the Build Your Success campaign, and we are talking about attend, and not just attend like you mean it. That's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about attendance, and we're going to talk about how to be engaged, how to attend like you mean it, whether it's out on the football field, basketball field, volleyball court, or in the classroom. Really important in the classroom because we are in college, folks. So let's kick it off. What do we mean by attend like you mean it?
That's a great question. So obviously everyone knows what attend means. You show up, but sometimes it's just not enough to actually show up. You actually have to come prepared. When you're there, you have to be engaged and interact and participate actively so that you're not just calling it in, but you're actually being helpful, learning something, supporting your team, supporting your class, whatever it might be.
Yeah. So attendance, it's one of these things that we've noticed, and one of the reasons that we really chose this is a topic, right, for this Build Your Success campaign. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we've noticed attendance kind of decline across the board, not just here at Defiance College, but really kind of nationally. Have you kind of noticed that or come in hearing some of the same things?
Oh yeah, for sure. I know when I talk to my other colleagues at other institutions, when I look at news stories and articles across the country, this is an issue that we're seeing with all college students.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, quite frankly, too, it's an issue in K through 12.
Yep.
Some of that stems back to COVID-19 and the pandemic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely something we've noticed over the last few years here.
Yeah. And I was doing some research as we were preparing for the episode, and it's not just a college thing, right? Sometimes we think, it must be these young adults, and no, like this is actually across the board. Employers are noticing this same trend as well, like that notion of like attendance and attendance matters. How have you guys are students in classes, right? Have you guys noticed this? Have you seen fewer students showing up to class? I'm not trying to out you, put you on the spot.
I mean, I have, because there's a lot of us that be like, I don't feel like getting up, so I'm just gonna go online just to like be there, but I'm really gonna take a nap.
Gotcha.
But it's like, we make a lot of different excuses to the point where like, some of them aren't believable. But
Some are legit, maybe some not legit.
Yeah.
Okay, how about you, Dee Dee? Have you kind of noticed it?
I notice it a lot because like some of my classes have like my teammates, but we're trying to get better at that. Coach is always stressing to go to class and doing class checks and make sure everybody's there. But yeah, I definitely see like students across campus struggling to get to class and be there on time even.
That's a good point, Dee Dee. I think one of the things I've noticed over the last year too is not just the maybe poor attendance at times, but a number of students who are tardy to class.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know if students always understand how hurtful that can be to instructors, professors. Some take it as very disrespectful. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of sorry, I shouldn't have come to class late. It's just oh well, I showed up at least.
Yeah, like it's crazy. You see kids walk in 30 minutes into class. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's just not an ethic I was instilled in. Like
Yeah.
I was, for me it was like you better be there 10 minutes early.
Right. Yeah. What is
Your
the
shift
saying?
starts at 8.
Yeah.
You better be there at 7:45.
Yeah. What is the saying? If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely say all the time. People don't really value that time a lot. Like they're late, and if they're not late, they just don't show up at all.
Is it necessary? Because we're in this place where there's remote work and flexible work schedules. Is it? What do you guys think? Is it needed? Do I gotta show up the way I'm supposed to, or are the old folks in the room just making too much of it?
I feel like it's easier to like come to class and basically learn what you're learning because you can ask the question right then and there and not have to wait until the session is over to be online and ask that certain question because you can ask it right then and there. So a lot of students that are wanting to ask that question but scared to can get the answer that they need.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it also depends on like what you're doing or what it is that you're like choosing to either be online for or in person for. Like if it's something like important that you definitely need to be in person for, like maybe it's a class you definitely you need extra help in, that's not something you should be attending online. Like you should be in person and asking for extra help.
Gotcha. All right. So one of the reasons we got our special guest, right, Lisa Crumit-Hancock in the registrar's office now, but you've been involved with student success here at Defiance College for a long time. You are kind of the resident expert.
Well, thank you.
Break attendance down for us. Why does it matter so much?
So obviously, I think the most obvious answer to that is if you're present, if you're there, you can learn the material a lot more effectively. It's not enough just to assume you can get it out of the textbook or assume that you can soak it in some other way. Your professors in college are experts in their field. And so they have a wealth of knowledge about that topic that you're not going to get any other way than if you actually show up and attend. And
one of the things that always struck me was how much more fun classes are when they are full and everybody's
Yes.
participating.
Yes.
Like, it actually makes for a great learning environment.
yeah, so not only do you want to attend because that's obviously the best way to learn the information and be able to learn and build on the information that besides what you're learning outside of classroom, but you're right, there is something about when there's more people in class and people are talking and engaged and participating, it makes class a lot more interesting. So not only are you learning from your instructor, you're learning from your peers, and that makes it such a richer learning experience than if you just decided to stay in bed.
Yeah, you don't learn anything when you're there.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I always tell students too about like this difference between high school and college and why attendance is so important is that in high school, 80% of the rule is 80% of your learning happens in the classroom. 20% is on you outside of class. And let's be honest, if you don't do the 20%, you can still get through pretty well.
Right.
In college, that flips. Because we all know you're not in class as much as you were in high school. You don't have class necessarily every day. So 20% roughly, your learning happens in the classroom. 80% is on you outside of class. So that 20% is really important because you're not going to be able to do well and know what you need to focus your attention on and what have you if you're not actually in class participating. So it is really important to be there.
What about those gen eds, right? It's a gen ed, it's not relevant to my major. Why on earth do I gotta go? I could miss a few more of those classes, right?
No.
Why not? Did you guys have that DD and KB where you kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh my
this
God,
doesn't
I gotta sit
matter,
through this
yeah.
class and
I feel like that was me through composition too, because it was like we're literally just writing and writing and writing and writing.
Yep.
And I'm sick of writing. So it took me a few moments to like actually just suck it up instead of complaining.
why did you suck it up? Because you didn't have to. You could have probably mailed it in and then, I'm not gonna say okay, but you could have passed the class.
Well,
Not with the grade you wanted, but you could have passed.
I just sucked it up because I'm like, the sooner I'm done with this, the sooner I can be on with what I really need to take to get done and be out of college sooner.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's how I felt about Survey of Western Music. I didn't enjoy it that much, but yeah, like KB was saying, like I was like, oh well, if I don't ever engage it, I'm just always gonna hate it. I'm never gonna get anything out of it. So
Oh, so the more you engaged with it, you enjoyed it a little bit more? Like, it was never gonna be your favorite class, but the
Yeah.
more you interacted with it, it became more tolerable.
yeah, the more I interacted with it, the more tolerable it became, and I learned a little bit.
I think that's a really insightful answer, and I think that's really true for most of us. I might not like it initially, but
Well, and I'm going to say there's a very practical reason to not let those gen eds go and make sure you're showing up and not just trying to get through it, is they impact your GPA just as much as those major
Yes.
classes. And so
Yeah,
you
the
want to
good
make
credit
sure,
hours.
yeah, exactly. You want to make sure that you're going to earn those credit hours and that you're going to get a good grade so that your GPA, you can maintain a good GPA. So there's a very practical reason
the
not
number,
to just brush off those gen eds.
the number of students that I've seen get tripped up in 100, 200 level classes that I know and they know they could like pass, stand it on their head, but they get caught up in like it's not that important. I'll catch the next one, and the next thing you know, my grade's really low and it just snowballs. And now I got to retake the doggone thing that I didn't like the first time.
Yeah.
Well, and I like to think too, so there's the practical reason why those gen eds matter. But philosophically, you're at a liberal arts based institution.
Yep.
And those courses help you learn about a lot of different topics that you might not have otherwise had the opportunity to learn about. They also help you learn some basic writing, speaking, research skills that you are going to need for all of your courses across campus. So there's transferable skills as well as kind of a holistic knowledge of the world we live in that, to me, philosophically, I also think that's important matter.
Also, with like me having to suck up the competition 1 and 2, I also like learned how to use my resources. So basically, like, even though we were forced to go to the writing center, I started using it more often after I was done with the class. And like, well, if they're going to help me, I might as well accept it. So it was easier for me to basically push through it and actually get what I need to be done.
Where's the applause button? Like, I need that right there.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah. I think a lot of times students are like, oh, I don't want to have to use this resource, but once you realize, wow, this is free, this is helpful, why not? So yeah, I think a lot of times students are like in Comp 1, like, why do I have to go to see a writing consultant? But the truth is, a lot of times if we can get you there in Comp 1, you start coming and realizing that's a resource that is actually valuable to you, not just for Comp, but for other classes.
Yes, comp is important because you write in literally every other class as well.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
of them.
a couple other things that I hear students say all the time. I already know the material really well. Like, I'm getting A's on the test, right? Why do I got to show up for class? I already know the stuff. All professor's going to do is read the slides.
Yeah.
Attendance is sometimes like 20% of the grade, and participation is like another 20% of the grade. You miss 40% just not showing up.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not good enough just to know the material, like you actually got to show up and do it.
I mean, if you want a D, go ahead.
Those participation points, right? The old saying, I forget who it was, it might have been Fred, Dr. Coulter, sorry.
We love Dr. Coulter.
They're the easiest points to earn and the
Yes.
quickest points to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way with world issues with Dr. Taylor. Because like I would never want to speak in front of anybody, so I never talked. I was just sitting there in the back of the classroom. But then he made it to where like we could just write comments in the little group chat of the class they made. But then people started taking advantage of it, so he made us write paragraphs. So I'm like, I do not want to do this class anymore. But I was like, I have no choice because
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie. Probably the 3rd week of school, I was ready to withdraw from the class because I was like, I can't do it. But I'm like, that means I'm gonna have to retake it. So I just have to like learn how to open up more and talk more because, mind you, I was a transfer and I literally just got there the same week and I didn't know anybody, so it was hard for me to interact with a lot of different people.